All right, so I'm gonna do another live with Shea Conley, coming off his win on XFN Extreme Fight Night, which is a show here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Over Marcus Corley, good to see you. So I'm bring Shea Conley in here in a moment. Talk about his recent fight. It's gonna take me a moment to get him in here. How's everybody doing? What's up, Shay? I sent you an invite. Okay, one moment. Okay, accept your invite. It should bring you in here now. What's up, Shay?
How you doing?
I think your camera's blocked or so. Okay, all right.
There we go.
So, yeah, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, good. So let's kind of get into, you had your fight at XFN. I didn't know you were fighting Josh Anderson. I was kind of familiar with him because I trained at Triton for a short period of time, a few years, and he was there. So when I saw your fight, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I know who this guy is. What did you think of what did you know about him going into the fight?
I knew he was fairly well-rounded, but as far as like what I thought he was most dangerous, like where he was most dangerous was on the feet. He's got some pretty good kicks and heavy hands.
Yeah, and, as the fight, kind of take me through the fight, maybe early, and just what some of your memories were of it or your thoughts of it.
Right off the bat, I know that he crowded me right away, and I kind of expected a fast start. And as soon as he crowded me, I just shot a double leg, and I got the takedown. And I thought it happened quicker than I thought it would happen. But when I pulled off the takedown and got on top, I knew right away. I was like, this is going to be the game plan. It was the game plan, but I knew it was the right game plan. The double leg came fairly easy. I didn't have to spend too much energy to get it, and I knew that was getting on top was the game plan, and so I that's what I was going for.
Now, during the fight, did you feel like most of the takedowns came that way, or were they harder as the fight went on?
They all were perfectly executed. I didn't have to work too hard. I think him trying to get me before I could grab him kind of helped it out a little bit. He crowded me a little bit and walked into them, and I've got pretty good penetration on my shots, so it helped me get in deep. Him actually trying to get me first, I think, really helped.
Yeah, I noticed because you backed up a little bit on some of them and let him overextend himself.
Yeah, he was really eager to hit me.
Yeah. I think he didn't realize what you were doing, or, you kind of sucked him into coming forward more than he probably should have, given
We've had a jiu-jitsu match before. I didn't really want to talk about it that much because I've actually lost to a guy I've beaten in a jiu-jitsu match, like in a fight. So I know that a fight, when we're talking about MMA, it doesn't mean everything if you beat them in like a single martial art. So I was trying not to put too much stock into that because it was just like a for fun jiu-jitsu match. I knew I could take him down, and I feel like he should have known that was going to come too. I just think that it's just the way the game works. He knew he was going to have to knock me out to get the win, and I just think that a lot of people they'll make the mistake. They'll get really eager to get off first, and they'll step too close inside and step right into the shot.
Now, you won the fight pretty easily, but is there anything looking back on it that you weren't happy with, or were you kind of overall pleased with it?
The overcritical side of myself, I really wanted to finish that Von Flue choke, especially because I had Jimmy Flick. I had Jimmy Flick showing me how to finish it hours before the fight. He came to a jiu-jitsu class. I was just trying to limber up for fight day. I wasn't really going hard, but we had the idea that he was going to try to hang on my head a little bit in that guillotine position, and I just couldn't find it. I actually think he was really good at surviving in it. He just knows how to get away with that bad habit that I'm supposed to take advantage of. He knew how to keep his shoulder away from his neck and survive. And I think he was really anticipating me burning my arms out, trying to go get that finish, or really lean into it and then flip me over. So when I felt that, I wised up a little bit. I didn't do what I did in the LFA fight and blow my arms out trying to go for the finish. I realized every time he wraps around my head here, he's actually holding himself down. So I'll just hang out here, pop my head out when I can, and go to work.
Now, did XFN tell you if they're going to do something next with you, or what do you think you're going to do next?
Well, hopefully I fight for him again in December. I think that they were happy with the performance, and I had a really good crowd pop. It was a great coming back to Tulsa moment. I hadn't fought in River Spirit since the amateurs in 2018, and I haven't fought in. I think the last closest place I fought was in Broken Arrow, and that's been a little bit now too. I've been fighting a lot, out of town. So everybody was really excited to show up and support me. And so I sold a lot of tickets. I put on a good show. Hopefully I get invited back.
Now, what do you think about, let's talk about development. Like, you had the fight's over. What do you think you want to develop more on?
Just finishing little details and everything. The fight, even though I didn't, showcase a lot of stand-up, I'm getting better and better on my feet. And actually, the more I get better on my feet, the better, the easier the takedowns actually are, because I can see things coming a lot easier now. I just want to get my cardio even better. This was the first time I've actually won a decision, and it's because I didn't gas out, trying to go for the kill. If I can just keep adding on, just keep adding layers and adding bricks to the wall, that would be the improvements I'd add, just little things.
Now, I see videos of you running. Are you running at Turkey Mountain? Is that where that was?
No, I'm not running in Turkey Mountain. Oh. I try to keep it kind of a lot of people around town where I'm at. I try to keep it kind of secret where I'm at. I still get honked at by people on the side of the road. It scares me to death. I'm running here around Sand Springs where I'm living right now at the moment. So there's a nice little back road that I go down, though, that looks really. It looks like I'm running out in Turkey Mountain or off in the woods somewhere, but it's really pretty close to town. It's not.
But yeah, that's what I thought it was when I saw it. I was like,
that was kind of my thing. I was like, I don't really want people to find out where I'm running and come bug me or anything, but because I kind of like to run alone. I'll run with a buddy sometimes, but I kind of like to just run whenever I feel like running. And I was trying to keep it kind of secret, so I didn't want to, post any videos running by my house or show my mailbox or something. Trying to keep pretty private. But yeah, I'm running a lot. I'm trying to put in like 25 miles a week. It really keeps the cardio built up, keeps the fat down whenever I'm in between fights. I just try to, and I think the running, I've been running consistently since March. Been putting in miles like that since March, and I'm really noticing a big improvement in my cardio from it.
Now, coming off 280, did you watch UFC 280?
I got to watch the main card. I left open mat and we went and showered, and I was like, oh man, the main card starts at 1. Let's go watch it. So I went and watched the main card. I didn't catch the prelims.
Now, what did you think of the final fight as a wrestler? You know, we talked a lot about this in the last interview, but now that you watched on Fight Charles, what did you think of
Man,
it?
Islam he's so big and he's so strong, but his technique is amazing too. Like he was able to nullify the hips of Charles. He didn't let Charles he controlled him so well on top. I think it was just so impressive because Charles has been so dangerous off his back and so hard to hold down. It was really impressive. I didn't know how it was going to go, honestly. I thought Charles could throw a triangle up and catch him because he's harder to hold down than most people are, or that could happen. I knew it was a toss-up. It was going to go either way.
Yeah, it's difficult to submit a guy straight on, though, you know?
Right.
He's nullifying his hips like that. It's almost like his whole game is, you know?
Yeah, he kept him square. He didn't let him hip out. He didn't let him get an angle. He didn't let him get his arms tied up too much inside the guard. He looked like he was ground and pounding pretty smart. He didn't overextend on anything. He just kind of took his time, and then when the time came in round 2, he got that head and arm.
But why do you think they're so good at the grappling aspect that maybe some of the American wrestlers aren't as good at the jiu-jitsu part?
Like, why do I think that? Like,
well, it seems like they're just as good at rolling or jiu-jitsu aspect as they are at wrestling. You know, and that makes them a little unique, I think, compared to the other wrestlers that we see from our country elsewhere.
Again, like, I guess it's the Sambo element. They're growing up wrestling freestyle. They're doing Sambo. They're doing the combat Sambo. They're familiar with submissions early on, but it seems to be like a really wrestling-based submission wrestling kind of thing. So it's got to be something to do with that, and just the elements of, you know, that they live in. They're real tough people. I think that makes you grow up strong whenever you're growing up in the mountains like they are.
But I mean, when you're looking at it from a wrestler's vantage point, do you ever look and say, okay, how can I make this work for me in a similar fashion, so to speak?
Well, I was using things that they use in their fights, bundling up the legs against the cage in my last fight, figure 4 in their legs, straightening their legs out. It helps hold them down. Everyone calls that Khabib in the legs. Frank Mir actually paid homage to Jake Shields on that. Jake Shields, I did see Jake Shields do that before. Khabib made it really famous, but against the cage, they're really good at doing that. The figure 4 in the legs, straightening them out, keeps them sat on their butt. They can't stand up if their legs are locked out. I try to take from them on stuff like that. I actually wasn't a really big fan of figure 4 in the legs like that and kind of passing the guard that way. But when you're talking about using the cage, that's one of the best tools to use, actually. I didn't respect it as much because when people would do it to me in jiu-jitsu, I could stiff arm and pull my leg back out, and then scoot my hips out. But when you're against the cage, you can't scoot your hips out anymore, and they're really good at doing that. Khabib talks about riding them like a horse, using your legs like you're riding a horse, and that's really good for your energy conservation because you're not using so much upper body in the wrestling. You can tie their legs up with your legs, and now you got a hand to punch with, a hand to grab a wrist, and so yeah, I try to take from them and see what they're doing useful and trying to add it to my game too.
Now the Jan fight, it looked like Jan was able to take down O'Malley quite a bit, but the decision didn't go his way. Did you think it was strange, or?
I thought Jan won that fight. I thought he was landing the better shots. I thought he was mixing up martial arts better, getting the takedowns. Had great control. He had great. He mixed it up really well. I thought he won it, but it was a close fight, and I think O'Malley gets better from it whether he got that win or if he lost.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, they could do a rematch
because the decisions, like, I feel like we make excuses for MMA when they do it, but boxing is known for doing this kind of stuff. And it's easier for us to take shots at boxing, but MMA is doing some of this stuff too. And
I wonder if maybe it was judges in Abu Dhabi, and you just don't ever know what you're going to get. I got a 30-24 from one of the judges in my last fight. I could have really used that guy on the fight before that, whoever that was. Like I could have used a 10-8 round in the first round of my LFA fight. You don't know what you're going to get wherever you are. It is kind of confusing sometimes.
So you think the next fight you're going to have is going to be in December in Dale's show?
As far as I know, I just know that they've got the next show coming up is in December, and I like to stay busy. I'm wrestling season's coming up. I'm coaching wrestling at the moment, so I'll have to figure out how to schedule around that. I think it shouldn't be a problem. I would love to stay local though and fight again in Tulsa.
Are you coaching wrestling at Sepulpa?
Actually, Broken Arrow.
Like one of the coaches or one of the main coaches, or how's
I am a junior high assistant coach.
Okay. Do they make you teach too?
I'm not a teacher.
I don't think that's hard, man.
Yeah, it's a busy schedule. I'll do jiu-jitsu in the morning. I'll try to get a run in after jiu-jitsu and then dart right over to practice and coach practice and then go to, more training after that. So it takes my whole day up. But the thing that I like about it is, besides, I'm sharpening my skills just teaching wrestling and just being around it, sharpening my skills. But the wrestling world is, they're all like interconnected, and they kind of, it's sort of an umbrella, effect where they kind of bleed into each other, but it's another world than the fight world. I'm seeing so many different kinds of people whenever I'm in these two different worlds. I'm around a bunch of jiu-jitsu people. I'm around fight people. I'm around the wrestling people. And I think it keeps it just, I'm not seeing the same people every day. It keeps me social, and it gives me something else to look towards and look forward to. Kind of keeps my mind fresh.
Now, do you think to ever recruit any guys into your MMA training at all from Broken Arrow High School or anything?
I always tell people, like I always tell the Broken Arrow wrestlers and just any wrestling friends, come try jiu-jitsu. I don't necessarily try to recruit fighters or people to be fighters. I want them to, because just the fight world's hard. I don't want to recruit some kid to come be a fighter and then he gets, brain damage, getting knocked out. If they want to, yeah, I'll tell them where to go. Like this is, you got to go to this place and you got to go to this place. But that's if they want to. fortunately, I mean, wrestlers love to compete. So when they start their MMA training, it's usually to fight. They're not usually doing it recreationally. So I'll tell them where to go if they want to fight, but I'm not necessarily just looking to recruit people. I tell them to do jiu-jitsu, especially after their wrestling careers are over, if they don't want to go to college or if they just finished college.
Now, who looks promising over Broken Arrow as far as wrestlers go when it comes like state titles or?
Well, really the whole batch is pretty good right now. Actually, the in 6A especially, wrestling is really tough right now. Broken Arrow seems to be in sort of a rebuilding. We're reloading the teams right now. Got a good junior high group coming up, a young high school group coming up. But the whole team, they've got. Right now I think it's too soon to tell, but the whole team's got potential. Especially towards the end of their high school careers.
Now, who's the team that everyone's kind of gunning for?
Right now,
building, but
right now I don't. Right now it's Stillwater. Stillwater's got a nationally ranked powerhouse team. Bigsby does too, as well as their football team as well. But some of those good football players are also nationally ranked wrestlers at Bigsby. And then the west side of the state, they've got some good wrestling too. Edmond Norths and I can't even name them all off. It's a tight race in the top 5 for sure. I think Stillwater's at the top of it. They're gonna be at the top for a little bit, and but everybody's tough right now. There's not an easy side of the state right now.
Does Stillwater do a lot of wrestling training with OSU or no?
I don't exactly know. I mean, if you can pop in a room, if you can pop in a room, I'm sure they're around there. I think just being around OSU in general is good motivation for them, and they probably pop in as much as they can.
Now, maybe tell me about, I know because we didn't talk a lot about the college wrestling last time, but maybe some of the guys you trained with you remember from college here in Oklahoma that people may not be familiar with.
Like who specifically? Like
just people that stood out or come right off the top of your head,
the guys that come off the top of my head are guys like I didn't train with them specifically or was teammates with them, but like Jacoby Smith, he's an up and coming MMA fighter. That guy's a beast. We used to wrestle each other in high school. Now he's way too big for me. Guys like that they come to mind when I think about the wrestling days and transferring into MMA. Yeah.
Now you're training some of Freddie Burnett, right? Isn't he over at Todd Ryan's gym?
Oh yeah. Freddie's amazing. He's actually my favorite jiu-jitsu guy in Tulsa. I think he's my kryptonite. Every time I roll with him, he humbles me. Anytime I'm thinking I'm doing really good in jiu-jitsu, I'll go roll with 127-pound Freddie Burnett, and he'll beat me everywhere. And I'm always like amazed by it.
But he's not really competing, so
I
that's
don't
like
think,
but it kind of does it recreationally, but is really at a high level.
that always messes with my head, stuff like that. Like how many people are out there that are just doing it for fun? We've got so many people at the gym like that could, if they wanted to be fighters, they could be fighters. If they wanted to be jiu-jitsu competitors, they could be jiu-jitsu competitors. That's why I say, our average Joes are really, really talented people.
Yeah, I think Freddie can pick Mikey's brain too. Mikey was it was a really excellent grappler. I don't think people gave him credit for that, you know?
Yeah, that's where I started. And when I started jujitsu, I was talking about this the other day. He really preached about flowing. He would only play Bob Marley in the room, I think, really to keep everybody from trying to rip each other's heads off. He really emphasized the flow and using the technique versus trying to use strength and power. And guys like Freddie grew up in a gym. He grew up at Mikey's gym, and Todd Ryan was his, my coach was his kids coach. So he's got to be around so many amazing fighters and jiu-jitsu players that I think that it's not as big of a deal. Like he doesn't have the want to necessarily fight, but he's got the benefit from the martial arts because of it. He's just been around so many great jiu-jitsu people and fighters.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey was, he's I think everyone kind of recognized him more as a stand-up fighter, but his grappling was a lot better than I think people know.
Well,
and
I
it
think
surprised
that
me that Freddie is there at that level,
I think that people think that maybe they thought that he was only a striker because he really didn't show a lot of jiu-jitsu in his fights. But I mean, when you're a gym owner like he was, of course you're going to continue to get better. I mean, if his jiu-jitsu game wasn't up to par or wasn't what he showcased, that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't know what he was doing. He might have just been trying to get on top in some of those old UFC fights. I saw him get on top a lot, but he continued to evolve after the UFC. If you really think about it, he didn't have that long of a career, and he went on to be a gym owner. So of course he's going to get better and continue to learn. He was a martial artist.
All right. Now, do you feel like you're getting a lot of support from the community as far as like sponsorship and things like that, or?
I think it's getting better. I think just the community in general has been really great to me. There was a while where I didn't know if I even had a fan base besides just some people at the gym, but every single fight it seems like everything's growing and getting bigger and bigger. I'm getting sponsorship support now, and that's going to continue to grow as I grow. But I'm just happy to have a fan base and just to have good friends support me as I continue to fight.
Now, who's sponsoring you now?
I got this. I just did a one-off sponsorship for this last fight, and I can't seem to find my shirts. I just had a batch of shirts made. I can't name them all off the top of my head right now. You put me on the spot.
But was it a thing where they had to pay to get a spot on your shirt, or how were you?
Yeah. That's where we're starting right now. I could probably push to get sponsors more, but I really like it whenever a sponsor wants to support me. Usually it's friends with their businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I know that some wrestlers do that. Like my friend's daughter does that with her shirts. That's kind of how you were working your sponsor. How much was it for you to get a spot on your shirt?
I think it's about I worked it out with my manager. It was about I was trying to keep it kind of between me and the business. Yeah.
So if the business, for example, if a business saw this and they wanted to reach out to you, you could just talk to them about it then.
Yeah, I work the deal out with them. Yeah. I've got to sit down and really work on my packages a little more.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I mean, I know because when you're fighting, you're probably not thinking about it as much. But
Yeah,
there are a lot of guys on here. Like I said, I've gotten some different people, some sponsors here and there. Um, Zombies Grip was one who did a lot of his sponsors. A lot of people here on Instagram, and there's a few different ones that will reach out that are supporting people. It's not as much as I think it used to be, but it can still be done. But I
it
would think locally, like you could probably get a lot of support because, like you said, you're from the area, and you know.
it doesn't seem to be as big. I know guys like Jimmy. Jimmy is really good at getting sponsors. He works really hard too in that aspect. He's always doing his shout outs, and I think businesses really like that. I got to get better at doing that. And I got to shout out my sponsors or pull out that shirt and make a post, an appreciation post for them. It really does help get me to the next fight. Whenever you got to, you know, when you have sponsors helping you out, that really helps you get to that next fight, get you some gas money, get you some food, um, pay a bill here and there.
Mm. Now, when it comes to the next fight, do you have any idea? Did you see anyone on the card or anything that you might have some idea of who it might be, or just no?
No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know who the next guy might be, or who could be next, or anything. I'm just hoping to get an opportunity.
But it's most likely going to be XFN, you think?
I don't want to. I don't want to just say most likely, but that's kind of what I'm gunning for.
And who's managing you?
Dorothy Foss.
Okay, yeah, I know she.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
she's
managed a
been a
lot of fighters
she's
locally.
been yeah she's been a lot of help. A lot of help. She's she's helped me a lot. Yeah.
How long has she been managing you?
Now for I think a couple years now. I think especially since the pandemic. Yeah, but she's matched most of my fights, the losses, the wins, all of them. So I think even before we started working together, she's been great support and really believed in me.
Is she still doing the FCF shows?
Yes, and I've heard there's possibly a show coming up in January, but they're just I think the last one was in March. Her last card was in March, and I fought on that card.
I got Brissa Bonal's father here asking you what goes through your mind when you're running by yourself.
Oh, when I'm running by myself, what goes through my mind? Um, that's fun. That's a fun question. I I like to think just anything, whatever's going on that day, I'll think about. Sometimes you really you work out some problems in your head when you're running. Some days I'm just trying to listen to a podcast or some music, but I'll always end up daydreaming, thinking about the fights coming up or what do I got to do, later that day. Um, it's really good one-on-one time with yourself. That seems to be pretty productive.
What podcasts do you listen to?
Um, I'll listen to I'll listen to Joe Rogan usually when I'm running because it's on Spotify. I can shut the phone off and put it in my pocket. I can lock the screen and put it in my pocket. Um, it's harder to listen to like a podcast on YouTube because you got to keep the screen on. Um,
Mm.
so usually if I'm listening to a podcast, it'll be like a Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, maybe I should. I used to do a lot of audio ones, but I just decided to do mostly video. But maybe I'll do some audio ones again,
I
perhaps.
like the visual. I like to watch the podcast as well. Even if I just set it down, I can glance over if they're pulling something up and talking about something cool. The visual effect is pretty cool on a podcast, I think.
So as we're kind of finishing the interview, let's kind of go through. I mean, we talked about 280. Is there anything else that stood out to you from that since it just happened yesterday?
Anything that stood out to me? No, it was, well, just how impressive Islam was. He was just so dominant. I didn't I thought, anything could happen in that fight, but he really shut Charles down. That was really impressive.
What about Dillashaw fighting with the shoulder? Do you think that? Well, it sounded like the referee knew before the fight.
He told him.
Yeah, and did the UFC know or not know or?
I guess the UFC didn't know. That's what I guess Dana White said, that he didn't know. And I guess it's not on the referee to tell the promotion.
Right.
That was I think it's impressive. He was saying something about, sorry for holding up the division, this and that, but that seems to be more of a wrestling mentality thing. I've known so many wrestlers that's gone on and competed without ACLs, or their legs mummy taped up or something like that. Like, I feel like he's such a tough competitor. He'll try to fight, no matter what.
So you think it was something he was dealing with for a while, maybe?
Yeah, and I think that's what they said. They said that
yeah,
or he said, yeah, it's been popping out. It's probably going to pop out again. I don't think he wanted it to pop out in their first exchange, but it looked like it popped out in that first exchange that they had.
So you're saying just kind of as the wrestling mentality, he thought he could just kind of fight through it?
Yeah, or yeah, I feel like it's the wrestling mentality. It's a fighter mentality too. I think those fighters are tough. They're tough dudes, but I've known a lot of wrestlers who just push through things like that.
But you saw where Bellator stopped the fight with Pico, and Dillashaw was in you. Why do you think that happened?
Yeah, that's probably just where they were at, Abu Dhabi. And who was the referee? Was that?
I don't know for the Bellator fight. God, the referee for the UFC.
It was Mark Goddard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like he's. If you tell him backstage, "Hey, my shoulder's going to pop out. Don't worry," he's going to let you try to work with it. I think he's a pretty cool referee in that aspect. Was that I probably, if I was a referee and I knew that information and then I saw him in round one with his back taken, he's just taking shots, I probably would have stopped it early if I was the referee. But I think it's the referee and where they were at. That's why they let it go on.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if Pico had been dealing with it or if it had just happened at that point in the fight. And
oh, yeah, Pico also, another wrestler. He popped his shoulder out. He said, "Pop it back in." And they didn't know how to pop a shoulder back in. I could see that looked painful. But, yeah, that's just that mentality. I don't put it back in. It's the that Rocky moment, cut me, Mick.
Yeah, it was classic.
Yeah.
Well, Shea, I appreciate you taking time again to do the show with me, and when you got an announcement or something, or, after your next fight, you can do more. Something you'd like to kind of talk about at the end of the show.
What'd you ask?
What would you like to talk about at the end, as we're kind of winding it up, if there's something that we didn't discuss?
I don't know. Right now, at this point, I don't have any news. It always seems like it just suddenly happens too. I'll be hurrying up and waiting. I just stay training so I can be ready, and then all of a sudden, hey, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, get ready. So I'll keep everybody posted when I get news for the next fight or next competition. I would just like to thank everybody, all my, Forza Combat, Ryan Jiu-Jitsu, the two gyms I train with, all my friends. I don't want to call them fans. It's been mostly my fans are just a bunch of friends I've known that I've collaborated, that I've met throughout my life. I had people showing up to the fight, this last fight, that I've known since second grade. I've had wrestling teammates show up. I've had I've had just everybody, anyone that I could have known growing up with, they showed up to that fight, and I'm really appreciative. Um, I just really appreciate everyone showing up and supporting me. Um, yeah, so shout out to them.
Well, Shea, it's always fun to have you on the show. I mean, it's great to have you on the second time. And like I said, when you have another fight, let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. I'll let you know whenever I get an announcement.
All right, man. Well, take care and good luck to you, and be checking out soon.
All right, thank you.